R360, and this big story, the main story brought to you by the BYD Shark 6. And the NRL, you got to say, has got to be rocked by this competition now officially getting the green light, Reedy and Mick, because there's a lot of names being floated about. It seems like it's a genuine target. It's almost got shades of Super League about it.
Well, it does, Dan. And the only difference is, I'd say, they're actually trying to work with the major rugby union bodies around the world. Now, they haven't got them on board at the moment, but it's certainly got a sense of that about it, because it's backed by private equity, big private equity dollars. You're talking about 12 franchises, eight men, 4 women, being set up around the world in cities like Miami and Los Angeles and Lisbon and Paris and places like that, and they'll play a rolling competition in a different spot each week. Initially next year from October 2, it'll be a shortened comp. It'll expand in 27 and 28. And
so this is 15-a-side rugby?
It's 15-a-side rugby now. Right. It's 15-a-side rugby. And
it's franchise rugby.
It's franchise
It's IPL.
rugby.
It's live golf.
Yeah, basically, yes.
That's the best comparison for
without the billion people watching it.
That's it.
The IPL without the billion people.
Yeah, but there's going to be multi-million-dollar paydays for the players potentially, right?
So
that's the concern for the game.
So, but I heard that. But if they do leave their countries, they're not allowed to play Test rugby again. Is that right?
Well, that's the early word today, that the AAU will not allow them to play Test rugby, and New Zealand won't either, and some of the other major nations won't consider them for Test rugby. So that is being discussed at the moment, but that's something I don't think they've officially worked out yet.
And that probably does the league more harm than good, right? Because the fact that it might open the door for more league players to go who aren't interested or don't believe they could play for the Wallabies, right? Like, so some guys that don't have ambitions to be dual internationals or chase...
But aren't they trying to sell a great product? Well, that means that if you go, and not being rude, but Wendell and like Lottie Takiri made it, but a lot of the guys that go there from league don't shine straight away. So if you're trying to sell this product around the world, don't you want the best rugby guys?
Well, firstly, what money are we talking about here? What's been mooted?
Well, we're talking $1 million a year contracts, US, I believe, and there's also suggestions that there'll be tax breaks because you can domicile yourself in Dubai, where they don't pay. I think the tax rate's nil.
Well,
right?
they made that very clear.
But when you come home, you pay tax.
They brought out some bullet points of this competition, and one of the points in bold was you can live in any country you want, which is translation for live in
Dubai and
Bermuda if you want.
Yeah, because obviously that would mean you can't spend 6 months a year in Australia, because if you do that, you get taxed under Australian law. But that option is there for them. But even without that, we're talking bigger contracts than blokes traditionally earn the NRL. We're talking $1 million US, I believe they're talking, and a guy like Jai Gray, the talk there is 900 grand. Australian Jai Gray will get to play in R360.
Which he's never going to get in.
Well, he might get
not for a long time.
I understand. That's not meant to be disrespectful.
He's off contract
he's
next
not
year, not in his next contract.
No.
Right? And they're going to talk about paying their management fees separately as well. So there's all these things that add up for the players.
All right, so who are we talking here?
Well, the names they've been out there: Pappenhausen, Lomax, Jai Gray, Nelson, Big Nelson,
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He'd be the first one to go.
Yeah,
Roger will be the first one. Yeah, he's admitted that.
He's off contract, so the only ones that is on contract would be Lomax.
That's the concern, right? The fact that, we're talking Jai Gray, we're talking Roger, those guys have 12 months left on their deals before they expire. Zach Lomax has multiple years left on his contract with Parramatta.
Did I read correctly, Jason Rawls, the Parramatta coach, was actually open to the idea of letting him go? He's contracted till the end of
2028, yeah. So this isn't come as a surprise to Parramatta, because it's been around for the past, 5 or 6 weeks, really, the fact that Parramatta were aware of the potential interest for Zach to go and play R360. They had a conversation about a month ago, and I think they parked it because they wanted to see if this competition would get off the ground. Now it looks like it's going to get off the ground. They'll have some serious conversations, and that's what Jason Ryles was alluded to, the fact that it was mentioned. Jason Ryles said to Buzz that he'd had a conversation with Zach, and Zach said there was an interest there for him. So I guess if it comes to a head now, they have to work out what will happen if Zach does ask for a release, right? Because as you said, he's contracted in 2028. They signed him as a marquee player from the Dragons this year, and they want, Jason Ryles says they're open, but they're not pushing Zach Lomax out the door. This would be Zach Lomax's doing, not Parramatta's doing.
Really, you're deep into the Kalen Ponga camp. Well, mate, do you reckon he'd be a chance?
Well, I mean, Kalen's been linked with rugby. It's been pretty well reported, and I think at some point, he's contracted to the end of 27. He came out and said he was committed to Newcastle in a social media post, but I'd say it wouldn't surprise me if it's on Caelan's radar down the track.
Forget just for a moment. Let's get back to Zach Lomax because I'm told he is at the Dally M's right now on the green carpet with Eloise Sawyer.
Zach Lomax alongside me. Zach, you're looking very sharp tonight. How nice is it to dress up for the Dally M Awards in 2025?
Yeah, it's always good. You know, it's different to having the footy boots on, but yeah, it's good to get here and see everyone, and yeah, it's always a good night.
Plenty of time to reflect on the transition from the Dragons to the Parramatta Eels. How do you sort of sum up 2025 in your new colours?
Yeah, it was unreal, and you know, loved every minute of it. And obviously, we started the season a little bit slower than we would have liked to, but towards the back end, we really hit our straps, and yeah, it fills us with a lot of confidence leading into next year.
I have to ask, Zach, there's been talk about this R360 in the media. Is it something that you want to comment now? Is it something that could be in the future? And do you have anything to say on that?
Nah, not at all. I mean, I'm contracted at the Eels for another 3 years, and I love my time there, and it's I'm loving every second of it.
Thanks so much for your time, Zach.
No worries. Thank you.
So his agent also spoke, Zach Lomax, and you can read this in the Courier Mail with Pete Bedell. Zach Lomax contracted to Parramatta until 2028 and will be playing at Parramatta unless the contract situation changes. You can quote me on that. I'm not going to lie. Yes, I've had discussions with R360, but how can you lock into something that isn't even there? So the door's open, clearly.
Yeah. Well, they're all fair quotes from Clinton Tchaikovsky there, but they also says he's contracted to Parramatta unless that contract situation changes.
Gordy, I'm fascinated with the Lomax side of it because you talk about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. With all due respect, and he's been a champion, but he's nearly at the
paid
end.
rugby league back. He's done his dues.
And he's earned his superannuation check. Asifa Solomon is kind of on the outer at Melbourne, so you can understand that one. We'll talk about Pappenhausen in a second because that's interesting too. But Lomax has finally discovered who he is as a footballer. He's playing great football, not just for Parramatta, but for New South Wales. Surely there's an Australian jumper there.
Well, you would think if he can come and put this to bed, he didn't quite put it to bed then in that interview, but if he can put it to bed, there's no doubt the way he's played State of Origin, he would be right in the mix to go away with the Kangaroos. So then it's his decision whether he wants to go chase a dream, whether it's a dream or whether it's money, and I don't begrudge him on that, but if not, I'm pretty sure that the Kangaroo jersey would be right underneath his nose. And I think he's got a lot more to give rugby league and the Parramatta Eels.
Now, I don't want you to be quoted as if you're speaking on behalf of Kevy or the Kangaroos, but I'm asking you, Gordon Tallis, the former Australian captain. Yes, would you pick Lomax?
Absolutely. You watch him in big moments. He hasn't played a lot of footy. Obviously, they'll go play the game up in Papua New Guinea, so you think that he'd be involved in that. But if he comes back in any sort of shape, you would think that he'd be one of the wingers with Xavier Coates, or he'd be right there, for sure.
It's interesting with Tchaikovsky's comments because he's been a pretty common theme in all this, Clinton Tchaikovsky. He's got Lomax, he's got Pappenhausen, he's got Jai Gray. I believe he was involved in the Nelson Sofa Solomona talks. And I've got to say, in Clubland, people aren't happy with Clinton Tchaikovsky because of the fact he's taken a lot of his clients to R360 and spoken to R360. Will Kennedy was offered to R360. Will Kennedy's one of his clients as well, or with his management company. So it's interesting seeing those comments from Chock confirming he's spoken to R360 because, when you ring around about R360 at the moment, there's one name that is common, and it's Clinton Tchaikovsky.
And
I don't think that's gone down.
He played for Queensland.
He did.
But isn't that his job?
Well, you would say it is his job, Dan, yes, but we're talking about a guy named Zach Lomax who's got 3 years left on his deal. And that's, I think, the one
that
really...
leave him out of it.
That's the one that really grinds people because you're talking to R360 about a player who is under contract for 3 more years. And the NRL will be looking at this, Dan. There's a lot of pressure at the moment coming from Clubland to the NRL to look at this, to look at agents' behaviour around this circus that's going on. And I think, as I said, clubs aren't happy about it.
So why do we spend too much time on it? We're a rugby league show talking about rugby union.
Because it's significant.
Because it's going to impact our game.
No other media outlet in the world. So it's not even broken England on players.
That's because Mick's a genius, mate. He's got it before everyone.
Wow.
He's on fire. It's a world exclusive.
So you're not even so you beat Bomber Bedell and the rest of the media.
It's a world exclusive for Mick.
It's a big moment if we're having discussions around up to 10 players leaving our game. Right? And back to Ree's point, and your point too, Gordy, the fact that the issue I've got is contractor blokes that would move it on. If you're off contract, You do as you please. You know, you can come back, you can do whatever. You're a free agent, right?
Yes.
But the test is going to be for the NRL and for the clubs. If a contracted player, whether it's Zach or someone else, wants to get out of their deal and how they deal with that.
Do you think we put a clause in like the rugby union? Well, there's no more Origin, there's no more rep footy.
I think if you're if you're in contention for the Kangaroos,
Yep.
right, and you say you're going to break your contract or you want to break your contract to go play rugby, I wouldn't be picking you for Australia or any representative side. If you're off contract, like Mark Nawinga-Tuase, no issue if he plays for the Kangaroos at the end of the season.
I think the emotional response today has been ban them all for life. Never let them back in the game. I don't think you can do that because I think...
Not for those that are
with
off
a
contract.
guy like Paps and Jai Gray, they're off contract at the end of next year.
Yeah.
So if they're going, they're within their rights. But there are some people in Clubland who are saying if anyone goes to R360, you tell them they're not welcome back.
We've said that before, though.
We have said that before.
And it never works.
And I pointed out to someone today, Dan, I said, we take players from rugby as well. So, you know, it does go both ways.
I think I heard that about Sonny Bill Williams. He'll never play.
Yeah.
Well, and that's...
When you got talent, but when you got his talent...
He's the worst example of someone breaking a contract, and we let him back.
And came back
so
on a
I mean,
premiership,
what I'm saying is, if we can allow Sonny Bill back,
That's
exactly
I think,
right.
Dan, the greater concern
Matt
amongst
Rogers.
clubs is, as I said, player agents and their involvement in this, because agents take a lot of money out of the game. They earn it, right? Because they get a commission on what they get players. But I think the fact that agents who are involved in rugby league are directing players to NRL R360, I think that is a concern for clubs.
We can't get them on NRL.